What's up-y? Okay, so today I am doing a little review here. I'm going to move to the side so I can put the cover here. But I read it on my Kindle, Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Sher. I just finished this book today and I really enjoyed it. So it's about this boy. His name is Dylan. I'm so embarrassed. I can never remember names of books, but his name is Dylan, and he works with his family in their Singaporean Chinese restaurant. First of all, this book made me want to go to a Singaporean Chinese restaurant and get some food. There was just really colorful explanations of all the food and stuff, and they all sounded so delicious. Like, the names were in like Chinese, so I didn't know, like I'm not familiar with those dishes and those terms and stuff. But one thing they had at the very beginning of the book was like a dumpling, and I forget what it's called. I would have to look it up again in the book. But it's like a dumpling and it has 18 folds, and the gelatin is refrigerated, then put in there with minced pork and then steamed for exactly like a certain amount of time. And when you steam it, the gelatin melts into like a broth. So when you bite into it, it's like a broth that comes out. And I was like, ooh, girl, that sounds so good. But anyway, what happens is he goes to deliver food to this residence, and there is a boy named Adrian, I believe his name is, and he's really rude to him. He like is very like disrespectful to him and everything. And then another guy comes to the door in his underwear and is like, hey, BB, like, don't be so rude to the waiter. So the guy ends up being Theo, and he comes to the store and gives him $100 tip because apparently he's rich and lives in like a mansion in Brooklyn or something. I didn't know Brooklyn had mansions, so that was kind of cool. Oh, the chickens in the background. But like he ends up being really rich, and the two boys like get together, and he has to, like, before they're boyfriends, they're like, hey, how about we be fake boyfriends, because I need and oh yeah, sorry, I like get scatterbrained during my reviews because like reviewing a book is really hard. So my reviews are very relaxed and everything. It's like a conversation. But basically, Dylan's aunt that owns the Chinese restaurant, she is like late on her rent, getting evicted, and needs $5,000. Well, once the boy talks to him, or once Theo talks to Dylan, and Dylan mentions this, there comes like a letter to Dylan in the mail that says, oh, you've been rewarded for a small business grant. Here's $5,000 for that. And it's the Revolt grant. And he's like, my dog's name is Clover, and Revolt backwards is Clover. Like, you ain't cute. So he was like, goes to Dylan. He's like, you think this is cute? Like, I can't accept this, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, well, I need a fake date for this wedding. I'm going to go to this wedding. It's my cousin's wedding, and I need a fake date. So if you're my fake date, we'll call it even. So he's like, okay, yeah. So they go to the wedding. It's in the Hamptons. And first of all, they go to a farmer's market type thing in town. Earlier in the story, Dylan mentions that he's entering a mooncake making contest with this like famous like TV chef that goes to restaurants and picks out like the good food. And then he finds mooncake pans at the farmer's market that have certain symbols on them that are in Mandarin, I believe. And one says, I forget what the first one says, but the next one says remembrance. And Dylan's mom actually died earlier that year. So he decides to do remembrance because they had a beautiful way of saying it. but it's basically like there is no celebration without remembrance, because if your loved ones were there, they'd want to celebrate with you, so you should remember them. Not in that many words and stuff. It was written really nicely, but I thought that was cool. So he gets the remembrance one and the other two square ones that match up. And then he ends up going back to the hotel room, and then later he actually saves his cousin from drowning. And I noticed in the book there were several like references to earlier texts, like not double entendres, but like sayings in the book and then references to the sayings that happen in the story. Here, I'm trying to stay in the shade so I don't have like a cast on my face. But I thought that was kind of cool. It was a well-written, cleverly written book. But anyway, then they go to the wedding, and it turns out like his father is like this billionaire, like semiconductor businessman, and he's being sued in a $1 billion lawsuit by his aunt, Theo's aunt, who is like totally estranged from that part of the family like his dad and Theo are, but Theo makes amends by coming to this wedding. Well, it turns up when they arrive at the wedding, Theo is actually uninvited, but his cousin Terry invited him to the wedding, and her mom didn't know about it. But anyway, the wedding goes off without a hitch and stuff, and they end up being in a tabloid magazine for going to the wedding and kissing, and they're like, oh wow, like your billionaire dad is being sued and you're at this wedding, and like that's why it's in the papers. Like I guess like they're rich enough to be famous or something. So the Dylan's family sees that he's in the paper when he gets back, and they're like, you're famous, oh my gosh. But anyway, later in the story, the butler actually like tries to block him and like break him up or whatever. And then later in the story, like it's about like 50 to 75 pages of just going back and forth, like, are we boyfriends? And then they're not, and then they are, and then the butler tries to break him up. Adrian tries to break him up because Adrian and Theo are best friends from like early on. Like everyone's trying to come in between them because Theo's really wealthy, and obviously Dylan comes from a working class family. But I really didn't like Theo's dad at first, because he's like this billionaire and he's really rude, and like offers Dylan $100,000 cashier's check to break up with Theo and like never talk to him again and like leave his life. And I was like, that's really fucked up, like calm down. But anyway, then later on they end up they are testing recipes for the mooncakes for the mooncake competition, and it's originally that Dylan and Theo are going to be in the mooncake competition, but it's actually what happens, like I don't know, Aunt Jade can't be in the competition because there's a flood in the restaurant and they have to clean it up, and they're getting evicted and they're worried about all this stuff. So at first Dylan's like, I'm not gonna go, and then he ends up getting picked up by Terry, Theo's cousin, and then he gets to the competition, and Theo is actually going to be his sous chef. So they end up winning the competition. They make the once in a blue moon mooncake, and it wins the competition, and they actually make it blue by using the like pea flower tea leaves. It's like a flower. I've got some before. It's like a flower that when steeped in hot water, it makes it blue. So that's how they make the blue mooncake, because water's a recipe. Oh, and I thought it was cool. There was a really good recipe, like if you make mooncakes at home and stuff. I don't know what a mooncake is. I only know from this story, but it kind of made me want to try mooncakes. And actually, Bookstagrammer duo, the Roomies Digest, actually one of them read the book and made mooncakes, and I thought that was super cool. I was like, oh, baking and a story. I love that. So I thought that was cute. But yeah, earlier in the story, the lady who sells them the tins, like the molds for the mooncakes at the farmer's market in the Hamptons, actually said like, hey, I like you, so this is a secret I don't often give out, but what you can do is use ice cold water to make the mooncakes, and that's what gives the skin the perfect consistency and texture and everything. So they use that idea. They have to get a special kind of sugar from Singapore, and Theo actually flies out to Singapore to meet Dylan's, oh, I thought it was so cute, to meet Dylan's grandma and get the sugar, and then actually comes back with some of the pea flowers too, to make it blue out of her garden. So I thought that was super cute, and he got to meet his grandma, and like he's showing like his love for Dylan by doing this really crazy favor for him. So anyway, they end up getting the Singaporean sugar that they need. It's not sugar. It's not like cane sugar. It's like the special kind of sugar that, or like same ingredient that's sweet. It's not even sugar. So I thought that was cool. I definitely would want to use that kind if I were to make mooncakes. Honestly, they should have included a recipe for the mooncakes. I don't know if they did, but in the back or something, because I read it on Kindle. But they should have included a recipe for mooncakes because I want to make them. But I know they would be like super hard, and I don't know if that's like cultural appropriation to like make certain dishes on your own, or if you should just find a Chinese Singaporean Asian restaurant to like buy mooncakes from. I don't know. But anyway, they end up winning the competition, and I think he wins a check for the competition, and then Theo's dad actually gives him the $100,000 cashier's check as well. So they actually end up buying Aunt Jade a brand new location for her restaurant, and she calls it Jade's Kitchen. And it's like a restaurant that there's different price points for the food, so that people of all like backgrounds and stuff can come get food at the price point they need. And she like hires crew and stuff like that, but it's a family owned restaurant, so all the family works there, and I thought that was really nice. Yeah, and then the book wraps up with a kiss. So I thought this book was super cute. The guys in the book were like in high school, so I was like, are they 18? But there's no spice or anything. They just like kiss and make out. So it's not like that. But I don't know. I would have liked to see it had they been like in college already. I don't know. I just don't want to read about high schoolers that often. Like I was in high school like 13 years ago. Like I don't care. I don't know. I guess that's just me, but I was like, oh man. I thought like the cover makes it seem like they're older, I guess. Like look at how they're dressed and stuff. Here, the cover's up there already. So, like they're dressed in like nice clothes and stuff, and like I don't know, they just look older. So I wasn't expecting like an 18-year-old high school romance, but it was still good. I thought it was super sweet and super cute, but I don't know. I like spice in my romance books, and obviously this had none because they were so young. So I think that's fine, but and I'm expanding my horizons by reading this. But I loved how the culture, like Asian, Singaporean, Chinese culture, was infused throughout the entire story. I thought that was so cool. I loved being able to get like a view of a working class Chinese family, and then like a super rich Chinese descended family, and there were several references to like Crazy Rich Asians. I haven't seen the movie, I haven't read the book, but I thought that was cool. But yeah, I gave this book a 4.5 star. I really liked it. I would read it again. I don't regret buying it, and I don't regret reading it. I thought it was super good and a solid book, so I enjoyed it. So I guess that's it for my review. I don't have a lot more to say about it, but the video's going on for 15 minutes, me explaining, so I guess I'm just done. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you could, please. And have yourself a happy day. Go read this book, Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Sher. It was great. So that's all I got. That's all for now. Peace.